right, Nick, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. This is a team doing a lot of really smart things this offseason. I think they're looking really good now with Desmond Ridder at the helm. I think this could be a very special season for them, but getting that defensive side of the ball is truly very important for the Falcons. They've made a lot of great free agent moves this offseason, but one in particular really stands out to me, and I think they've become a strong component for this defense.
Yeah, Miles, this new Atlanta Falcon is drawing all kinds of praise already for his impact on the team. Excited to see what your report details. But before we get into the news, Falcons fans, got an interesting question for you today in the comment section below. Who is the fastest Atlanta Falcon in team history? This is a really hard question. There's a lot of really great names. There's a quarterback, there's a cornerback, there's a lot of wide receivers, a lot of great running backs as well. This is a really hard question. Really curious what you guys have to say. So in the comment section below, give us who you think the fastest Atlanta Falcon is in team history. All right, Miles, what you got? What's this latest news out of Atlanta?
Yeah, Nick, when I think fastest Atlanta Falcon, I'm going to go a little bit different. I go linebacker. I think Deion Jones. That guy ran a 4.340. He was pretty quick out of LSU. That guy was something special. But let's get into the defense, Nick, as we talked about. I think this is a group really that has truly finally gave Grady Jarrett some tools to play around him. They got Calais Campbell, obviously. But this other guy, Nick, Onyemata, I think this is a guy who can really kind of bring some character, some backbone to this offensive or defensive line, rather, excuse me. I think this is going to be a really great pickup for them. And the story that we have just highlights how many other of the Atlanta Falcons key players really agree with us. Let's get into that now, Nick. This is from over on the Falcon Report on Fan Nation. It says Grady Jarrett isn't one to spare words. The two-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle is highly respected around the league and holds the honor as one of the best leaders Smith has been around. Talking about Arthur Smith, of course. When there's something that needs to be said, Jarrett will say it without hesitation. This is Grady Jarrett on Onyemata. He said, a guy that brings it to work every day. You don't get that kind of player that he is without doing that. We definitely need that kind of work ethic day in and day out on this team. There aren't too many other people, Nick, that can make Onyemata at 6'4", 300 pounds look small. Another defensive lineman, though, on the Falcons can. That's, of course, Calais Campbell. He's tough as nails, Campbell said. He's one of those dudes that I feel you don't want to get into a fight with. He's got some extra juice down there. Strong hands, violent, explosive, and he definitely has that want to. I am glad he's on my team. And if that's not enough, Nick, we can go to one final guy, Chris Lindstrom, the Falcons all-pro right guard, probably one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL at this point in time. Lindstrom, a first-round pick in 2019, who's now a pillar of Atlanta's offense, has seen firsthand how skilled Onyemata's impact as anybody on the Falcons roster. He's all in on what the 30-year-old brings to the table. He said, I've played David for 4 years, and he's one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, in my opinion, Lindstrom said succinctly. Now, Nick, all of these are really high-level guys. These are all guys who have very valuable opinions in NFL circles. But I really like what Lindstrom especially said is because he's such a powerful player. Saying that Onyemata is one of the best D tackles in the NFL is very high praise from Chris Lindstrom, and I think this is really exciting for the Falcons. But Nick, I want to hear what you have on this. What do you think about the addition of Onyemata, and what does he bring to the overall defense?
Yeah, I think you highlighting Lindstrom comments, I think that's the most important part here. I agree with you 100%, because one of the things that's kind of forgotten in terms of evaluating defensive line play and really any position on the field is that sometimes you need a guy who's really good at beating the man across from him. That sounds really simple, but when you're watching the game, watching the flow of what happens, and when you watch the box score, look at the stats, sometimes that's lost in the action a little bit. You see an offensive lineman bury a defensive lineman. Maybe you didn't see it during the play live. It doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Maybe you see a corner, constantly get beat by a certain receiver all the time, even though they're not throwing him the ball. Those kind of plays matter. Those affect things over time, especially game planning week to week as opposing teams review the film. Onyemata is a physical run-stuffing beast. That's just what he is. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look clean. It doesn't look pretty, but he just buries people with his strength, toughness, and his nastiness. He brings a straight-up nasty demeanor to the defensive line, and that's exactly what Lindstrom is talking about here. Calais Campbell mentioned it as well. This is a guy who will turn the Atlanta Falcons, I believe they were the 10th worst run defense in the NFL last season, immediately much higher up the rankings. They were the 6th worst defense overall. People talk about the issues at the quarterback position last year for Atlanta. If their defense was just a little bit better, they would have been a playoff team. They would have won that division. I think Onyemata, paired with the addition of guys like Campbell, of course, the guys on the back end of the defense as well, have quickly vaulted this defense into that position. But just the mentality he has, the guy to just beat the guy across from him, just be a pain in the butt for all their offensive linemen. That's really what you need. Those are the guys that force teams to double team you. It frees up your linebackers to make plays. It doesn't show up the stat sheet, Miles, but it really does matter.
Yeah, Nick. And one thing I really like what the Falcons have been doing this offseason, like you kind of brought up, beating the man across from you. Well, sometimes when you're a team, the man across from you is a divisional rival. And bringing in guys like Caden Ellis, bringing guys like Onyemata from the Saints, guys that they know day in and day out, they see these guys twice a season, every season, and thought to themselves, these are some players. These are the guys I hate to go against. We have the opportunity in free agency to go out and get some guys like this so we don't have to play them anymore, and hopefully we can give other teams a headache. So I think this is a really huge move for the Falcons. I think it's a really smart play for that front office, just kind of seeing who they hate to go up against and bring them into the fold in Atlanta.
And just one more thing, Miles, you kind of hit it at the beginning, getting Grady Jarrett some help, right? Because we've talked about the Falcons for a couple of years. Grady Jarrett's been a beast. He's been a phenomenal player. He's had no help around him on the defensive line. This offseason, Terry Fontenot and company did a great job getting Campbell. Of course, bringing in Onyemata here as well. They immediately gave him a lot of tools around Jarrett. That's exactly what Grady Jarrett has been looking for a long time. Not only will Onyemata have a big impact this year, that's what I'm expecting, and these comments by these players will belie that as well. I think Grady Jarrett will have a renaissance year. I'm expecting big numbers and big production from him as well.